Hey guys, it's Chloe, and today I'm here with a video on how I'm learning Korean. I get a lot of questions online on like Tumblr and Instagram about how I'm learning Korean and Japanese, what resources I use, things like that. So I thought it would be a good idea if I just did a video showing you everything that I'm using and how I'm making notes and things. So I hope this helps some people out. So this video will be on resources I use to learn Korean, and then I'll do a video on how I'm making notes, and then the same for Japanese. So the very first book I bought for learning Korean was Korean for Beginners. This is a really good book if you're just starting out because it goes through like all the basics you can think of. It teaches you all the characters and things like particles and different conjugations. It doesn't exactly give you like structures, like grammar structures, but it gives you the information you need to sort of make your own sentences, if that makes sense. I still have all my old notes in here. I haven't used these for like a year or something. So here's some things on the particles. There's like a whole chapter on particles and a whole chapter on different conjugations. There's things like common endings. And at the end of every chapter there's like a vocab list and things like that. So this is really good to like introduce you to the language, and it gives you sort of the basics you need to start communicating with people in Korean. I kind of use that one as like a reference book, like I just flip back through it if I'm not sure on something. And I also have a few other like reference books. The first one I've got is 500 Basic Korean Verbs. This one is really useful. It just gives you the different conjugations for 500 verbs. It's just so useful. If you have trouble with like conjugations and how to conjugate different verbs, this is such a useful book to have. It doesn't really go into too much detail like teaching you how to conjugate. Like there's a bit in the front, I think there's a guide to conjugation at the front that sort of goes through different endings and how to conjugate them, but it doesn't go into too much detail. So if you didn't want to learn, so this is good as a reference but not so much as learning to conjugate, if that makes sense. But yeah, it's really useful. I've posted a couple of pictures with this on Instagram. Another kind of reference book I have is Essential Korean Grammar. This one's really useful if I'm working on something else and like I'm not sure about the explanation, so I'll look it up in here. It doesn't have everything in here obviously because it is just like essential, and there are some things that I've come across that aren't in here, which considering that I'm still at quite a low level, you'd think it would come up, but I mean, so yeah, it gives you like the grammar point and then it just goes through like how it's formed, how it's conjugated, and then sometimes there's like exceptions to the rule, so it'll go through those and give you example sentences and things. So this is really useful. Also, as a kind of reference book / dictionary, I have Essential Korean Vocabulary, which is like the same as the Essential Grammar. Because I don't have a Korean dictionary, and I haven't found like an online one or like an app one, because I have like a dictionary app for Japanese. I haven't found one for Korean yet, but this is useful. The only thing with this is that it's not organised like a dictionary, it's organised by like topic. But I think, yeah, in the back there's an index, so if you were looking for a specific word, you can look it up in the index and then just find the page. So that's useful to have. What I'm doing at the moment, currently I'm working on some YouTube lessons. There's some YouTube lessons with like different printouts. So like I just write my notes on here. I'll go into this more in the next video, how I take notes, but I think those lessons are just really helpful. Each lesson will like give you example sentences and then break down the sentences into like key grammar points and things, and then it will introduce you to new vocabulary and give you like practice sentences and things. So I think it's really useful, and it's all free. It's completely free on YouTube, which I think is great because I love free resources. And honestly, I'd never really gotten into like online lessons. I'd always preferred using textbooks, but these lessons are just so good. Like, before I started the YouTube lessons, I was using the Ewha Korean books. I haven't finished this one yet, I'm still working through this one. But once I finish the YouTube lessons, I'll go back to these books. So I have the textbook, the workbook, and the study guide. Because I think just having them all together, it gives you so much more information. And the workbook especially gives you so much more practice, because there's only so much in the textbook if I find a chapter. So that's like the first page, and each chapter's broken down into the different parts. There's part 1, part 2, part 3, which is like different grammar and things like that. And then there's things on culture and literature, which I think is really good. So yeah, it'll introduce you to like particles and things. And it does give you exercises, but a lot of them are sort of partner exercises, which if you're studying on your own like I am, that can be a bit, not challenging, but you don't have anyone to talk to. So you can always like just write down a practice dialogue or something. I think the only exercises in here are like talk to, oh no, there are some exercises. This is like it for the exercises. And then yeah, it gives you like, there's a poem and information on like Korean culture and things, which I think is really useful. Because if you are learning Korean, you're probably planning to go to Korea, so giving you things on the culture and the customs and things really does help sort of give you the full experience of learning Korean. In the study guide, it follows along with the textbook, but it just gives you more information. More notes. It just gives you a lot more information than it has in the textbook. So that's why I recommend people, if you can, because they can get quite expensive. I think most places you have to ship them in from Korea. I think I got the textbook and the workbook on Amazon, and I think I found the study guide on eBay for this level. But then the higher levels, it's harder to find them like online. But I got so I've actually got the next couple of levels. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. But I got those from Two Choice. But the shipping can get quite expensive. Like the textbook themselves, it's like £20 for all, well, like £20-30 for all of them. But then the shipping is like the same, so it can get up to like £50. And then they have vocabulary checks, which is like key vocabulary for each topic that's in the textbook. I actually, for this level, I've got them all on my blog. I posted them all as vocab lists, so I might link those below. And then the workbook, this just goes through everything that is covered. This just goes through everything that's covered in the textbook and the study guide. So it just gives you different exercises to do. I really like this. I use this as kind of like a review, so I'll do the chapter in the workbook and the study guide and like make notes and things like that. And then I'll go back maybe the next day, depending on like how long it takes me to do notes and things. I'll go back and do the chapter in the workbook to kind of cement things in my memory and test myself. So I think it's really useful to have like all 3 books. So that's about it for like resources. Oh no, it's not. There's only like 2 main apps I use for Korean. I use Memrise for vocab, and I used it to learn the characters and things. And then there's an app called Mondly Korean, which I use. It has loads of different languages, so whatever language you're using, you can use Mondly to learn it. It's kind of similar to Duolingo, the way it's laid out, like the different topics. It's not loading at the moment. Oh, here we go. So I don't know if you can see, but you can follow through and do all the different lessons. I haven't actually done that much on this. I haven't even finished the family lesson yet. But that is something I've been meaning to go back to. And then for things like listening and reading, or find things online like YouTube videos, movies, music, all that kind of stuff. I might leave some like recommendations in the description if you guys want to check any of that out. I'll show you guys all my notes and things in the next video, so I'll try and upload these fairly close together rather than like a week apart, just because they kind of follow on from each other. I will have listed everything I've mentioned down below, so if there's anything you want to check out on like Amazon or anything, any of the books I've mentioned, that'll all be linked down below. Yeah, that's about it for the resources I'm using. I hope this was useful to some of you, because I know I do get a lot of questions about how I'm learning Korean, so I hope this kind of answered some of your questions. If you have any more questions, feel free to leave them in a comment on this video or send me a message on Instagram or Tumblr, and I'd be happy to answer any of your questions. If there's any specific books you'd like me to review more in detail, like I know I kind of just briefly showed you a couple of pages from each one, but like I know I get a lot of questions about the Ewha series. If there's anything like that that you want me to go through in further detail, again, leave me a comment or send me a message and I'll be happy to do that for you. So yeah, that's it for this video. If you did enjoy this video, then please subscribe, and I'll try and upload videos fairly regularly. Yeah, that's it for now, so I'll see you in the next video.